remember the conversation, and it was like, should women go to college? Should women not go to college? What's your perfect woman? All these expectations of what women should be and what women should not be. Okay, is I really want to talk about king talk. Amongst us, we had some kings, some prince, and then there were some others.
It was wing talk because it's a lot of them dudes sound like chicken.
And it's like nobody, and don't get it twisted, I can understand why, because different people like different things. I can agree that what may work for you may work for your household, may not work for other households. But it almost seems to me that the expectation, and you can tell me if I'm wrong, for we as the Black women, it's not very high. Not when I say the expectation, the standard of what we should get should never be placed high. It should just be like, be happy with what you can get, so to speak. And no other group of people feel that way about their women, but we feel that way about our women. And so I just wanted to discuss that, unpack that. Why do you think that this is? It was a lot of, oh, she needs to lower her standard, not that we need to raise the standard of how we're moving. So let me give you an example. Instead of saying, okay, more men may need to be educated, or more men need to go into trades to be master plumbers, not just the tech or the handyman, but be the master plumber. It was like, oh no, she shouldn't even be going to college, because if she wants him to be educated just like her, then her standards are way too high. Instead of just pushing the standard. Does that make sense to you guys? And I was just so confused with that. It's like, what? Am I hearing here?
It's so sad. Only like 38% of women have degrees, but these guys in this, social media they're up in arms. Oh my God, things are changing. We can't find women, traditional women. We can't find, I don't get it.
Now, let me just say this. I do remember when they were talking about the daughters. I think Marcus was like, no, I want my daughter to be educated. I think Trev may have said it. So a few of them did say it. But I remember and I can't remember it distinctly, but I remember in there was like, no, they shouldn't be, because they felt like women going to college meant that they were not going to be marriageable women. They learn things in college that make them not be marriageable.
I wish we could change our outlook as a community on educated women. Like, how can we ever improve, maybe make improvements in our community or raise our standards if we're also dumbing down the education and saying, no, our girls should not go to graduate school. They should not try to go as far as they can go. That's a good thing. We should look at it as a good thing. I think to your point, I think we might be the only community that's doing this.
They were saying things along the lines of like, you need to train your daughters to be wives. And if they're going to go to school, like they need to go to school at home. Don't send them off to college. Things of that nature. Don't train them to be independent. You need to train them to be dependent upon a man. Like all of it was those narratives. Because if she, plans to get married, they're not conditioned like other cultures to, get the ring by spring or something like that they were saying, like when you're going away to school, Black women are not conditioned to move like that. And so their focus is always on education and getting a bag. And then marriage comes after that. But they need to focus on getting married early on. Mm-hmm. That was kind of the conversation. But then when Trev brought up, like, honestly, for Black women, education increases their chances of getting married. So it makes more sense for them to move in that direction when their rates of marriage is higher. And they still kind of talked around why that shouldn't be the case.
Let me
go ahead. I just want to chime in real quick. And this is not a jab at the fellas on the Tuesday night show. But sometimes there's a lot of noise, there's a lot of posturing, and not a lot of real building. And Shan, what works for one household might not work for another. Everybody's dynamic ain't gonna be the same. But when it comes to black women, especially, you ain't wrong. Too often the conversation gets framed like, "Well, just be happy somebody picked you," right? Like y'all hear that shit, and
Mm-hmm.
like the standard for what you should expect, love, leadership, loyalty, supposed to be something you got to negotiate down just to get picked, and it shouldn't. That's backwards. If we're serious about building like stronger families, stronger communities, and stronger futures, then the standard has to be respected, not reduced to fit some kind of convenience. Because kings don't, we're taught we don't lower our standards, and the truth is, queens shouldn't either, and we should never ask them to lower their standards. But what I will say, on the other hand, is that I think that the message gets lost because I don't think they're saying lower your standards. I think more or less what they're saying is, look, a lot of the things that you say you value to you is not necessarily what we see as valuable to us.
But
Okay,
AP,
so let me
can
just
I push back just a second,
me
AP?
too.
Sure. Yeah,
Go
yeah.
ahead.
When men say stuff like that, I'm willing to bet you they're gonna whine when they have a low earning woman when it comes time to get a house versus a high earning woman who's got the house already. And you can just move in, or y'all can take your both houses and merge into another one. It's putting more stress on you.
Let me just say this. They whine when a chick is on food stamps. They whine when a chick can't make the can't pay. They whine
Yeah.
about things like that. They do. They complain about those things. But unfortunately, that comes when you can't find a high paying job. You may need food stamps if you have children, right? So you can't have it both ways. But what I'm trying to say is this. I get the fact that it's not on your list. It's not a top priority to have a woman who is educated. But how often has I said this, AP? There are more uneducated women than there are educated women.
Bingo.
So if you really wanted one, why not just go get one? Because there are more of them than there are educated. You know why you won't? Because there's something about that educated woman that you want. What you fail to realize is the reason why she moves the way she moves is because she is educated. So you don't want to give the credit to education. You think that, oh no, that's who she is, and we could just take her from being educated. No. Because if she wasn't educated, she probably moved like the hood rat that you trying to avoid. Because clearly
So,
you don't want to be with them because it's more of them. You can just choose one of them and leave the
no,
educated women alone.
and I think that again, oftentimes, and I think it happens in this space quite a bit, we lose. We're not listening to each other. It's not that we don't necessarily want an educated woman, and it's not necessarily that we don't want a high earning woman. What we're saying is that's not near the top of our priority list. What in most cases, regular dudes just want a woman that a functioning adult, a woman that has the ability to do things on her own. So when I bring you in, I know that there are certain things that I don't have to fight with, and I'm sure in the world not going to fight with you. And oftentimes, what I hear in the space, and this is something I don't necessarily subscribe to, but it's something that I hear. A lot of those women, those there are things that are conflated between boundaries and just unrealistic expectations and attitude. And men in general don't really want to deal with the attitude. Secondly, um, no, we don't like we really don't give a damn about you know where you live necessarily. Because my objective, if I'm moving in the right way, my objective is to move you into my house. But you can't like I'm not gonna move some hood rat into my house that can't even function as a normal, regular female adult and be willing to submit to my guidance. And I think that's another thing that's lost. People, I hear guys especially talk about, uh, uh, She needs to be fit, feminine, and all that other bullshit. That shit is crazy to me, bro. First, you need to find somebody on your wavelength. That's the number one thing. And the second thing is, if you that dude, real talk, she gonna fall into your program. Period. And I just hear, I do personally hear a lot of complaining that drives me nuts. But we can't lose what some of these dudes, like some of these dudes have legitimate concerns and complaints.